Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Neville and welcome to Selective Imagery. I started taking pictures when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I really shoot just about everything. And here's some samples of what I take, whether it be sunrises, alligators, birds. It's what I do a lot of right now. But I also do macro. I'll do small animals, and I'll do street photography, and I'll use my old cameras to take some black and white photos with. So here's a sample of one of my cameras coming up. So I'm a generalist, but right now I'm focused a lot on wildlife and birds in particular. So I hope you enjoy my channel, and let's get right to the show. Hello and welcome to Back to Nature. After last week's video that didn't have any nature at all, I figure I'm going to have you guys OD on a heavy dose of nature for this particular show. So we're going to start off with some bird portraiture, which I love to do when I can get that nice color behind the bird. And this Anhinga decided to cooperate on this post, and I took full advantage of it. We then looked for a little bird that everybody loves to find called the painted bunting. Beautifully colored bird. Male is always much prettier than the female. And then we move on to a great blue heron. Now, of course, it wouldn't be this time of year in Myrtle Beach without spoonbills. So they're pretty far away here, but I'm using the 800 PF, so I'm able to capture them with some nice reflections in the water, and the pink coloration is just absolutely gorgeous. And here's a video clip for you to watch. You can tell it's a windy day. It's windy, as I said, but they like to hang out together in groups. The black, looks like a blackbird in there, is a glossy ibis. And we'll get into some separate video clips and stills of that bird in a little while. But they all like to gather in certain parts on the pond area, and they may be in one section for 15-20 minutes, and then they'll fly to the opposite end of the pond where you can't get any pictures of them. They're too far away. Eventually they come back, so they just kind of go back and forth and back and forth. So timing is everything, as they say. And you know, you have a bit of everything in here. You've got the glossy, you've got the snowy egrets, you've got the great egrets, obviously the spoonbills, and a lot of small shorebirds in the background. You know, this was a pretty good day. We've had a lot of overcast days, which after a while gets kind of tiring. You want to have a little bit of light, you know, partly sunny, partly cloudy. But the only thing good about a solid overcast day is all the light colored birds, such as the snowy and great egrets and the spoonbills. You don't have to worry about them getting blown out and you having to dial down your exposure compensation a lot, so that you don't blow out the highlights. But I like to have a little more sun than we've had recently. Now, this is a pretty long video clip, but I think it's interesting to watch the behavior, so I'll just comment here and there, but for the most part, we'll just sit back and enjoy watching this, and I'll interject a comment or two as we go along. See the spoonie on the background on the far right playing with a stick. And you'll see him or her do that again later on in the video. Sometimes they just have a fascination with a stick that's floating in the water. There you go, stick again. In the far left-hand side of the screen, you're going to start to see a glossy ibis or two that are going to show up. I have separate videos just focusing on them later on. And they'll come marching across, and I think for the most part they're eating small crabs. Once in a while they'll get a fish, and while white ibis, knows what to do with a fish, these glossies sometimes seem to be a little bit confused when they catch one, what to do with it. They all crowd each other though, and they get pretty close. You see that one spoonbill that was like trying to bite the back end of the glossy, get it out of its way. Spoonbills are pretty social, but once in a while they do exhibit a little bit of of an attitude occasionally. As you see right there, a little bit of a, okay, you're getting too close, you're crowding me. And that was two older spoonbills because they have like the bald head, okay, unlike the younger ones that have the white that goes right down to the beginning of the bill. The older ones tend to have a lot more color in them too. They're a much darker pink than the young ones are. But you could tell that the water is not very deep, and you can tell how windy it is from the ripples in that water in that one spot. I figured I'd leave this full length of this clip in here because some people never get a chance to see these birds, and for some of you, you could fast forward ahead a little bit if you've seen enough. For those that have never seen these birds before, hopefully you're enjoying this. Okay, that video's done. Now we go to a couple still photographs. As you can tell, I do like these birds. Getting them in flight, I mean, they could stay sometimes in a location, in a spot, like sometimes it's, like I said, 20 minutes, a half hour in one area, then they fly over to a different spot. Other times they could basically take up a residence and stay in one area a little further away for literally hours. And we'll sit there with our cameras and we'll watch them, and we're basically waiting for them to decide that they want to take off and fly so we can get those spoonbill and flight shots. So you have to be very, very patient in order to get those types of shots, because sometimes they're not moving for quite a while. Okay, you can see that one in this video just took off. I think there might be one more that'll take off in a minute or two. There we go. Now we're going to have a few more still photos, and I like trying to get them when they're landing. Usually they're going to land right near a whole bunch of different birds. They are certainly very beautiful birds. Here's another video. Obviously this video is a little jumpy. This is handheld, and it's been windy, and I don't care how good you are hand holding something, when you have the wind, if you have wind gusts hitting you, you're going to move and your video is going to move. Now the clips that you will see, other clips that you'll see on these spoonbills, are going to be pretty much steady as a rock. And believe it or not, for those, I used my Hype travel tripod and had the 800 PF with the Z9 on it, because it has a 50-pound load limit, and it worked fantastic. So I bring that with me more now. Definitely enjoyable with a tripod. And here we have a spoonbill having a chat with the wood stork, and they're going to hang out together for a while as we look at some of these still photos. Here the stork looks like it just gets a piece of a plant. Not going to eat that. Here's another video, and what I like about this is it has a lot of these smaller birds flying throughout the frame. They were very active. Yep, here they come again. Very busy flying around. Spoonbills could care less, doesn't bother them. And here we go with some more stills of two spoonbills now with the wood stork. And then just the two spoonbills together. Here they go towards the edge, almost like walking into the tall grasses. Now we have a great egret flying across the sky. There's one coming from another direction. We had a few wood storks that were in the thicker grasses. Eventually one of them moves down to the water, probably thinking about getting something to eat. Go up to the North Beach area for a little bit and run into this rabbit. Somebody put some carrots on the grass on the way to the beach area, and this one was more than happy to eat it. While this gentleman was surf casting, hoping to catch something. Now the red-winged blackbird, he's kind of a staple at the park. They can be pretty smart. In the next two shots, you're going to see these are the new railings, and he's leaning over the rail, and you're saying, well, what's going on? What's he doing? Well, it turns out spiders are building webs in there, and right there in this shot, he has a spider in his mouth. So you go, man, those birds are smart. Walk across and lean over and look for spider webs. Meanwhile, the female is getting some debris, some grasses, and flying back and trying to build a nest of all places in Gator Island, what I've been calling Gator Island. And so for as smart as they were getting the spiders, they're not too smart building this nest, because last year they had a nest there and the baby flew out of the nest and immediately hit the water because it couldn't fly well, and a gator ate it. So I guess they're trying to tempt fate once again this year. Well, here we have this short clip of an alligator. Obviously got something in its mouth to swallow, more than likely just a small fish. Here's a headshot of one showing off the teeth. Once again, here's one on that island. So if they lay eggs in that nest, finish that nest and lay eggs in there, it's just going to be dessert for a gator. Yeah, there aren't any grasses on that mound anymore that are tall enough where a gator's not going to be able to reach it. When you have a mouth like that, with a set of teeth like that, the nest doesn't have a chance. You can see the throat in this shot. That's what I like about it. And here's a series of shots of one that having a crab salad, as I like to say. Caught a blue crab, munching on it. We're going to have a very short video clip here in a second. This gator got something, but once again, you know, when it's usually just a small fish, just a little bit of head movement, they'll swallow it right down. There really aren't, as far as I know, really any large fish in the pond side anymore since the fish kill last year. So it's all fish that are like a foot long or smaller. Here's a little blue heron, which has not turned blue yet, and it has like one of those translucent worms in its mouth. And here it's swallowing it as it's flying off. And here's the different colorations you can get. Now this one is still a youngster, but it's got more blue than it does white. And eventually you get bluer and bluer. Colors change. Here's a great blue heron. And then we run into a bluebird, a couple bluebird shots. I like small birds, but you know, many of them, I mean, I don't have to tell those of you who do this like I do, that many a times they don't sit still very long. And Anhingas, on the other hand, when they want to dry their feathers, they can pose in one spot for a half an hour trying to dry off. Now they call them the snake bird, and you'll see why in a second. If you could bend your neck back that far, you're doing really, really good. That was painful just to see that. Then at the north parking lot, There's some big, large trees up there, older trees, and this is only the second time I've ever seen a red-headed woodpecker. And man, it is beautiful. What a beautiful bird this is. I saw it once last year, and my friend Bob and I saw it, just in the last week for the second time. And all the years prior to that, I never saw one. Now, these are glossy ibis, and this really threw me because they got the white, like a white area above the eyes, across the forehead. But what's great is you see the different colors in the wing when the light hits it. You got, like teal and green and purple. And here's some video clips of the glossies, and you can just see when the light hits the body, you get the reflection with the different colors on it. But that white along the face really threw me because I had quite a few pictures over the years of glossy ibis. Never, ever, ever had that white. So there is a bird called a white-faced ibis, and I asked the bird expert. We have a gentleman that we see every day that we're there. He's there every day of the week, and he counts birds for those Bird's Eye app or a similar app, and he comes into the park every day, goes to all the areas, makes a note of what birds he sees, how many he sees, and reports that in, and it shows up on an app for this area. So I told him I thought it was a white-faced ibis based on what I could find information on, and he says, no, it's a glossy. So I did more research and found out, yeah, during mating season, the glossies will have that white on the face. And obviously all the other times I got pictures of them, it was not mating season, therefore that was not there. So it really threw me off, but it's nice to have someone that is there every day that we can ask questions to when we see something that confuses us and throws us. And here's a few still photos of these birds, and they were fun to watch. We got another video, and this is slowed down. This is 4K 120. This is slowed down 50%. If I ran this full speed, literally you would have a headache because you wouldn't believe how fast the bird's head is going up and down. I mean, it's like a Singer sewing machine on steroids. Really, really fast. But they are cool birds. I mean, it looks fast now, but this is, like I said, 50% slow motion. Look at that beautiful color on those wings. Wonderful, wonderful birds. But they work hard for their food. I mean, they basically poke, they feel, they find something, and they swallow it, and it's like, they just swallow it and keep on poking. It's like, there's no break in between. They get something small in their mouth, it just goes right down the throat, and then they keep poking and get something else. Yeah, they were much happier that they were in this area now, where subsequent film footage you saw where there were a lot of birds in there, that they had to contend with the spoonbills and the snowy egrets and stuff like that. Well, eventually they moved on to another spot, but the glossy stayed in this area, and they had it all to themselves to poke around and try to get some food. Oh, see, this one's got a fish. Not really sure what to do with it. Well, I'm going to rinse it off. It's going to stick it in the water and lose it. No, fish is gone. No, can't find it. Oh, shoot. I just got rid of my food. Never did get that fish back. Tell you right now, the white ibis would not have lost that fish. Not likely. we've been walking down the sidewalk on the causeway, and this is really the first year where I've noticed it with any abundance. Is we got the small fiddler crabs. Sometimes we see them running across the sidewalk a lot, so that's kind of different. Usually they're on the marsh side, not so much on the pond side, but we've been seeing a lot of them. We're going to have another still image here. A few anyway. And I think this will be the last video. At least of these birds, not the last video in the show here, but the last one of the glossies. This is this is not slowed down, what you're seeing right now. Yeah, if they catch something, they try to just, lift their bills up far enough where they can kind of like the item just travels down down the bill and down the throat. So now we move on to one of my favorite birds in terms of watching it feed, and that would be the anhinga. You're going to see a multitude of still images where it flips the fish up in the air and attempts to swallow it. Now sometimes they spear it and they have a hard time getting it off their bill, and if it's a real large fish, they may end up walking the shore to try to work the fish off of them. When they're small, they can usually, when they do the flipping motion, if they speared it, usually they can get it to fly up in the air and then they can swallow it. Now this picture here, you're saying, is it really going to get it or not? Sometimes they do miss, believe it or not. And I think this is a new feature on the Z9. I'm going to propose that they have a barn swallow tracking mode. Anybody who shoots pictures knows that these birds are almost impossible to get shots of. I mean, their flight patterns are so erratic. You really just have to have a crazy amount of patience to attempt to try to get a picture of them. And this is a nice picture of a great egret flying across the water. And here's another one. Sometimes I like it where, as long as the head is sharp, I don't mind it if the edges of the feathers are a little blurry. Sometimes I want them tack sharp. Sometimes I want to show that there's some motion there. This is a very short video of just a pair of spoonbills by themselves out there. And this is going to be the last part of the show here. This is just a spoonbill that flew onto the marsh side, and due to storms and whatnot and king tides, a lot of this cordgrass got washed up against the banks, and so this spoonbill is just walking through all the cordgrass. Incredible amount of grasses that got washed up. But he's being careful where he or she walks. Don't really know why it had an interest in walking along the cordgrass versus, going out, say 10 feet to the right or what have you, and being in the water. But they do what they want to do. Like I said, this is the nearing here the end of the show. I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And as I always say, enjoy life, capture some of it. I hope you got your bird overdose for this video. A bit longer than usual. But go out and get some great shots and enjoy life. Take care.